Speaking the truth to the state capitol. This is Drive Time Lincoln with the Commander, Jack Riggins, on the voice of Lincoln, 1499.3 KLIN.
Hello, friends. Wednesday, April 25th. I'm Doug Fitzgerald, filling in for the Commander. He will be back tomorrow, and hopefully I'll be back here in the studio with Johnny and Jack on Friday, which will be fun, too. So, obviously, behind the board, executive producer Johnny Cadillac. Johnny, thank you for doing what you do.
Always.
We're going to jump right into the show because we only have a half a show because of Husker baseball today. So we're just going to jump right in. We've got a great guest here. We're going to talk a lot about public safety. Get out there, get people on the radio. Let's get everybody tuning in to learn more about, more in depth about how we can really make our city safe, more productive, more successful in what we do. The general election is, it's just a few days away. Tuesday.
Yes, Tuesday, May 2nd. Yep.
So,
right after May Day.
Yes. So I was on phone with the Lancaster County Election Commissioner's office just a few minutes ago, and I just wanted to double check on some things. So if you have a ballot that was mailed to you, you've got to get it in by 8:00 on Tuesday night. If they don't have it in hand, it doesn't count. And also make sure you mail them in. Make sure you're mailing them in right now. Don't wait till Monday or Tuesday, because if they don't have it,
they also have a drop box there.
They've got a drop box, and they told me too it's monitored 24/7. So just FYI, your ballot should be safe. But our biggest encouragement here at KLIN is get out, get your vote in. If you're going to go in person, get out there and vote. Too many people not voting and it's too important. Make sure you're getting your voice heard and the representative you want in voted for. All right. Well, currently we're joined in studio here at KLIN by Tom Duden, who's running for District 2 City Council seat. Tom, welcome back to the show. You were here about 3 weeks ago or so?
About 3 weeks ago. Thank you very much for inviting me again.
Absolutely. I enjoy talking to you. You've got a lot of great information. You've got an extensive, it just blew me away. You've got an extensive background and experience in law enforcement. I want you to for those who are listening and may not know, what is your background and how can that impact your leadership on city council?
Doug, thank you for that introduction. It almost makes me sound like a dinosaur. But,
well, I wasn't going to say that, but no.
But I've lived in Lincoln all my life. Grew up here. Went to high school here. And
where'd you go to high school at?
Went to Pius High School.
Okay, good.
And graduated in 1971. And went on to college for 2 years. Shortly after that, actually, I did work construction that first year out of high school, and decided that was going to be too hard of work. So I decided to go to school, and I got an associate's degree in criminal justice. And
was that here at the university?
No, that was actually in Norfolk. First year it was Norfolk Junior College, and then they moved and changed their name to Northeast Nebraska Technical Community College, and now it's called Northeast Community College.
Okay, so, wow, okay, in Norfolk, Nebraska.
In Norfolk, Nebraska.
Good. I grew up in Albion, so just right down the street.
Actually, I have some family from Albion.
Really?
As well.
All right, we're going to have to talk during the breaks here. This is crazy.
But, I went to school up there, came back, and Joe Carroll was the chief of police. Had been on the Lincoln Police Department, I think, 45 years, chief 35 years. So LPD has had a lot of history. And actually, even way back then, in 1974, when I started, they had school resource officers.
Really?
And they actually did away with them and then brought them back. But and that was
I didn't know that.
And that was a dispute between the city and Lincoln Public Schools on who was going to pay for them, type of thing. So, but George Hansen came in from Sunnyvale, California, and he wanted to put more officers on the street. And actually, he's the one that started community-based policing in Lincoln, and which was a great concept. And part of that concept was the officers that had schools on their area would be visiting those schools during their shift, that sort of thing. And we were able to do that sort of thing way back then. But that's changed, and the Lincoln Police Department has been, I think, grossly underfunded, and they've been losing personnel. The mayor has claimed that she's been adding police officers every year. Even Tom Cassidy has come on board and said that. And I tell you, the numbers just disprove that. when in 2019, when Baird took office, there was one chief, one assistant chief, 15 captains. There were 52 sergeants and 284 police officers. So there was a total personnel of 353 from the top on down. As of this moment, there is one chief, 3 assistant chiefs, 12 captains. We now have 5 lieutenants that were promoted from sergeants. So that would leave 48 sergeants. And right now there are 258 officers, because actually 2 resigned on April 13th this year. So, and that leaves a number of 327 from the top on down. Now, what you don't know is that you don't believe that there's 258 officers working on the street right now, because there aren't, because you have some officers that are assigned to the drug task force. There are some that are in the gang unit. There are school resource officers, and they do that on a full basis. And I don't really know what the numbers are, because the Lincoln Police Department will not post their statistics from 2021 or 2022. I'm sorry. In fact, they didn't have 2021's posted until I started investigating their statistics, and they posted those on March 29th. But we're still missing 2022. And that's almost a crime itself, in my estimation, because there's what's called the Jean Cleary Act. And actually, colleges and universities are required to post their statistics on crimes so that parents know exactly what type of campus they're dropping their kids off to. And with Lincoln having UNL, Wesleyan, Southeast Community College, Union College. You also have Purdue Global now. I mean, those are 5 institutions. And if I had a child from out of town and I was dropping them off at Lincoln, Nebraska, I would want to know what the crime rate is in Lincoln at the same time. So, and we do know that the violent crime has obviously been increasing. And the officers that I've talked to are just they're pleading for more bodies on the street. They're working their tails off. Let's stop for a second. You were on LPD for 26 years, correct? 26 years, and then private, more in the private field with investigation, and you're still involved with law enforcement and really working behind the scenes. Somewhat. I went from I went from Lincoln Police Department to Design Data Corporation. I had a great police career. Best job I ever had. I loved working as a police officer in Lincoln, but you can't jump fences and chase bad guys forever. You eventually do slow down a little bit, and you can't jump over those 4-foot fences. I'm there. So I got out of it, and I went to work for Design Data Corporation as their human resources and facilities director. So I gained a lot of information about how to run a facility, a 42,000 square foot building, 12-acre office park. I also, in 2008, started doing the software piracy investigations for the company and recovered close to $450,000 in software fees in over an 8-year period. And it was successful at that. So I learned a lot about business and regulations as it pertains to employees. Something that I was always interested in, because my last 7 years on the police department, I was vice president of the Lincoln Police Union. Before that, 8 years, I was on the LPU executive board. So I've always had kind of a human resource background. And when I made the career change, it wasn't that much difficult. Instead of looking for bad people, I was looking for good ones now to hire. So, we hired a lot of programmers, structural steel engineers, support personnel that would actually teach the use of the software and application. So, and they would do that either on site at our training facility or at the customer site. So I became pretty familiar with that and kind of figured out how to make some of those jobs a little bit more palatable instead of just being on the phone with a customer all day and that sort of thing. Well, good. It's 5:19. We're talking with Tom Duden on 1499.3 KLIN. Let's go back to the officer numbers. You're talking about just how they're overworked. I've heard about some overtime use. Yes. What is that like? Do you know any more about overtime with our officers on the street? Absolutely. I learned that in 2019, the police department budgeted for $1,036,000, and they used $682,000 that year. The next year, it actually dropped. They asked for the same and used $669,000 in overtime. And then 2021, they asked for more. I don't know why they asked for an increase, but they did. And they used $797,000 that year. And then in 2022, they budgeted for $1.1 million and ended up using $1,160,000 in overtime. They actually went over budget by $37,000 that year. So that tells me you've got fewer officers working on the street, and the overtime has almost doubled since 2019.
Now so you've been running some ads, I've heard, and part of your ads, you talk about detox units not being around, and that we're seeing more of the impact of that by people being on the street, maybe intoxicated or high or whatever. Talk to us more about that. What do you mean by that? What has happened? What do you know, and why is that important?
Well, I worked downtown almost my entire career. My first 10 years was on nights, last 16 on days. I also assisted with training officers, but when I was working downtown, I was also part of the bike patrol, and one of the things that the businesses downtown wanted cleaned up were the drunks that were passed out in alleys and on sidewalks and benches downtown and in bus stops. And we pretty much did clean that up. But nowadays, they've closed down Detox. It used to exist at, I believe, 721 K Street underneath the viaduct. And I know there was a dispute about funding, and it ultimately was closed. Well, now you can drive up and down Lincoln Mall between the Capitol and the Hall of Justice and see people passed out underneath bushes. And they removed actually the bench that used to be on the northwest corner of 10th and Lincoln Mall, just because of the problems that would draw. And that's also the same site where the Black Lives Matter riot took place as well, and did $11 million worth of damage. So there's just downtown, to me, looks dirtier than it used to be. There's more boarded up buildings and things like that. I've talked to some of the business people downtown, and they just said there's just a lack of enforcement. And it's just because we don't have enough officers on the street to handle all those kinds of calls or do the proactive things that they used to do.
Yeah. We're going to, I'll tell you what, we're going to take a quick break here. And when we come back, we'll have just a couple of minutes. I would like to find out just what your plan would be then to build up, develop, and how would you lead in regards to public safety? And hopefully we're going to talk about undervotes as well and want to get people to the polls. All right. We've been talking with Tom Duden, District 2 City Council candidate, and the general election is next Tuesday. We want you to get out and vote. Polls are open from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. It is 5:23, and you are listening to Drive Time Lincoln on Lincoln's #1 news and talk station, 1499.3 KLIN.
You're getting the 411 from DTL with Commander Jack Riggins on 1499.3 KLIN.
Welcome back to the show, 527. I'm Doug Fitzgerald. Jack's going to be back in the seat tomorrow. We are speaking with District 2 City Council candidate Tom Duden, and we were talking about public safety and how important that is. Tom, I want to give you the last couple minutes here to say, what would you do in regards to public safety? What would be your issue? How would you lead our city?
Well, number one, I think there needs to be a change in leadership. I mean, if someone had to fill out the report card for that person, I think that's running the show. I think I'd give them probably a D or D minus grade right now. And we need to start bringing our A game when it comes to public safety in this town. And we need to hire good people, recruit good people. From what I understand, Lincoln Police is the highest paid law enforcement agency in the state right now. but for some reason, the officers are still quitting and going to work elsewhere. It's not because they don't want to be police officers. They want to be police officers somewhere else. And that's a problem. I think that's a problem with management, and that's something that needs to be fixed.
And
you've
been meeting with a lot of leadership, police officers. You're actually, after the show, you're going to be meeting with another police officer as well. I mean, you're involved with this.
Yes. I've been talking with the police union. Some of the officers are afraid to have their name brought up. If they have some pending litigation in regards to sexual harassment, those kinds of issues taking place, and I'm just not sure that the officers are being treated fairly at the same time. So some of them just don't want to put their name out there, for various reasons.
Yeah.
So,
well, Tom, thank you so much for coming in. We appreciate it.
Thank you very much. I appreciate you coming back.
You bet. District number 2 City Council candidate Tom Duden. Get out and vote next Tuesday, 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Well, hey, you're going to be listening to some Husker baseball here in just a few seconds versus South Dakota State. Thank you so much for joining us on Drive Time Lincoln today. First pitch is going to be at 6 o'clock. Pregame starts here in just a couple of seconds on the Voice of Lincoln, 1499.3 KLIN.